again, everything is choice. That's it. Do you want to stand in a real position that makes sense? Or do you want to play with these old ideas and just focus on that and the phenomena of whatever you've created your cyberspace to be, you see? So everybody has the opportunity. See, this is a roll of the dice because it's choice, and we present it. But many people will say, "Well, I believe in God, and Jesus is going to come to save me." Well, you can't move them from their spot. The boys cannot drag anyone into the real universes and make them see it. They cannot do that. It doesn't work like that. Free will is, you might say in its own way, is the isness life is. It must be so. You cannot touch it. And so the individual makes the choice. Yes, everybody has the opportunity. And yes, I see that too. Because it is a struggle, but this is why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. In other words, those people that step up and continuously do this, I see myself, I'm exhausted here. I have been for the longest time, and but I don't see where I have done enough. I want to do more. I want to do a whole lot more, and I get frustrated. And the thing is that this is my love affair. This is my adventure, to where it's like the sun shining, to where it's like an absolute, you see, because this is what life is. That's a real life, you see. And so to the personal self, it's like, well, I don't have time to do that. You know, I've got other things to do. Okay, well, have fun. To get and see a real life, and to see and be a real life, like the sun shining, and even better than that, because you are aware with no restrictions. And see, again, who will decide that? Who can see that? Who can even recognize something like that? It's like, oh, that can't exist. Well, the bigger part of life that is considered not to exist does. That's the best part of it. And the best part of life is the unseen, and the part that you can't even consider. Yes, all that you can consider, that's very small and minute compared to what you can't consider. And who would consider what cannot be considered? Boy, this just goes back and forth, doesn't it, like chipmunks? But yeah, so again, you have these ideas, the last Kali Yuga, and all these people that, etc. And Paul talked about it. What he was doing was he was giving a warning. And what he did is he created, along the ideas that were already there, like the Wheel of 84 and all these other things. He was working off of that, and then upbeating it to the real guidance with the rod of power and all these other things like that. Because really, Paul's position, what reinforced it at the time, was the idea of the rod of power. You see, he defined that more so that he had it and nobody else did. So this was the focus for liberation. I get it, but really, the liberation is with the individual and what they decide and how they position themselves. So even though people could even consciously soul travel, that is not liberation. Okay, that is not true liberation. That is a part of the process. There becomes a difference, but again, many people misinterpreted that. And so as we go along here, this is where I created the idea of UP, universal position, because it is a position you decide to stand in and make it your true reality, like the sun shining, like the isness is. The isness does not move from its position because it's everything. So where is it that you have to be? So, chasing the thrills of astral projection and remote viewing and soul travel and all these things, fine, go have your thrills, but it has nothing to do with real freedom and the isness life is. It's just something that we do as we experience here in time and space. So, as we head into this last yuga here, people are given the opportunity in many, many ways. The real guides show them. But the individual has to want to recognize it. That's the big deal. It's not going to be instantaneous where it's like, okay, here it is. We've done it for you. Now you don't have to think anymore. It's like, no, this is where you really do it. That's the best part, because only you, just like going out there and buying a house or claiming a piece of land or whatever, you got to do it now. All right. So the land's for sale, but you got to decide to buy it. You know, the seller is not going to decide for you that you should buy it or pay for it or any of these things. That's your part to do. It's meeting you halfway. And this is what the boys do. So again, it's not that everything's taken care of. I don't see where anything's taken care of. I see what they've set up as possibilities, and that I must decide to figure it out and to place myself there. That's what I see. You see, that's more real. So again, the isness life is, I see that that is an endless possibility, but I myself must decide to stand real in what position that I have decided. This becomes the difference. This is the difference between what is real, makes sense in the isness, and belief, hope, and faith that just keeps a person dizzy, you might say, dizzy and dopey in creation, thinking that they're getting somewhere when they're really not. Oh, I'm spiritually evolving, I'm unfolding, and you know, we have the new consciousness that's going to be ignited from a sun flare. I hear all these things. Okay, you want to do that? You want to be ignited by a sun flare? Yes, it's very real. I heard it the other day, and I just, you know, I just kind of listen. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Let me know how you did. Okay, I'll talk to you next week. All right. So, anyhow, so yes, again, it's all curtailing. The levels are collapsing. The firmament is dissipating. People are seeing more, etc. So in the meantime, while this is happening between the layers of the causal, astral, physical worlds and mental worlds, okay, the firmament is dissipating. The bad boys are creating virtual reality, cyberspace, and whatever, to divert people from what's really taking place and seeing what's really going on. So they're putting up as much hocus pocus as they can, and this is why most people walk around with their cell phones in front of them, bumping into things and falling into holes. Okay, so yeah, it's a very interesting challenge here, but what's the idea? Choice. It's not about what you believe or you don't believe or you like or you don't like. See, this is where Facebook gets you too. It's like, go on there and make some likes. And then just keep making more likes and get people to like you. Oh boy, we're having fun, aren't we? Well, that's a choice, okay? But is it about likes and getting likes? Again, it's choice. So people have the opportunity everywhere in life. They really do. Fortunately, we've come through a lot, each one of us here, and we're at that point that we can continue make the choice to become more aware. I see where that makes sense, you see, instead of the unfoldment idea, the spiritual unfoldment. Really, what does that mean? Okay. So again, as we take on the adventure, we become more aware, we become more able, we become more self-sufficient. You see, now we have a real purpose instead of just ideas that we're chasing. And a real purpose is the isness life is. We start to recognize standing real with the isness is a real purpose. It makes sense, like the sun shining, to where we're no longer the effect of anything. So in the meantime, yes, creation, things that have been created and fabricated, are moving around. There's cause and effect, collapsing in their own way, etc., going this way and that way. Yeah, and for the most part, people have the choice to recognize the difference between what we're presenting, the true reality, to recognize it, and what's taking place in creation. Well, that takes a lot. I get it. That's a whole lot. That's why I take the time with these and everything else. Yeah, I see this is the most important. This can go out. Kelsey and the others are spreading this. They're doing all these things. You're earning your way. This is where life backs you. It shows you how to become more aware as you step into this. And as we go through the process with the next project, which is the real, the first position of the real universal position. Very, very important. Very, very real. Because, you know, Mexico has certain advantages that are not available in the United States. You know, there's a lot of perks and thrills in Disneyland in the United States. Well, sorry, Mexico doesn't have Disneyland. So we're going to create something, I would say, better. We can create a natural rainforest or whatever. We can do whatever we want. See, now we get to create something. It's going to be a lot of work physically, and I'm glad that I can stand and watch a lot of the younger people. But I'll be out there too. I will be doing whatever. Construction is my background, and so we'll be near the beach, and so we can even make it partially a surfers camp or whatever, or places like that. We can do a lot of things because we can bring in the universal surfers idea because I want to market Rebisar. So he's walk with Rebisar naturalists and the universal surfer, etc. All these things using my own marketing, which is very, very real. You know, there was surfing on the real side before Duke Kahanamoko ever did it in the physical. So Duke wasn't the first. No, the boys knew about this eons ago, so they were first. And so that makes sense. See, I'm rewriting history. You got a history here, but you know, it's kind of limited and a little bit boring. I'm just making it more interesting to where people get maybe kind of annoyed about it. And that's fine with me because I'm still doing it because it's all about Rebisar and the boys because they're wonderful. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to see what happens here again, Charles, with all of this. So, yeah, it's time to pay attention and learn to stand 100% real because that's the real advantage. Not 99%, but 100%. But you decide. It's all about choice.